Hi everybody. I'm just gonna wait a little bit for people to kind of join the conversation and then we can kind of get started. I am gonna talk basically about kind of my columns this week and give people the chance to ask questions and if they're related questions, then ask questions. Um, so we're going to get started in a second. Um, I guess I'll just start with my most recent one from yesterday, which was a university researcher from a school in Australia, Central Queensland University, Dr. Wendy Faso, was suggesting that tween girls, which is ages 10 to 14, actually need safe spaces to be able to study science because right now when girls aren't in science because when they're that age they're too focused on social pressure and around about boys, and they're worried that if if they come out as being a nerd or they're into science, people can think they're nerds and boys aren't going to like them or it's not going to be cool. So she was saying that girls actually need like their own little safe space to study science. And her evidence for this was she did a program with where girls, they taught them science and how it connects to fashion and hairstyles and those kinds of things. And a lot of the girls said, wow, I'm not afraid to identify as a science nerd anymore. So that's what she was saying, why we needed to have these segregated classes or these special classes. But there's a lot of issues with that. First of all, I really reject the idea that, because she was saying that girls don't have the confidence to study science or admit that they're science nerds in a normal classroom. But the issue is, if she's so worried that they don't have confidence, how is telling them that they can't handle going into a school classroom going to give them confidence? I think that would give them less confidence. Also, they're gonna have to. Life is full of social pressure. It's also full of boys, right? There's a lot of boys out there. You go outside on the street, go to the store. I bet you that you'll see at least one person who's a dude. It's kind of just what happens. So you're gonna have to develop these skills, eventually. And basically, all they're really doing is delaying the inevitable. So they're keeping these girls in this separate weird area, and then they'll just be thrown in the classroom and have to deal with it eventually. And I know this woman is saying that these girls were saying after these programs and workshops, wow, I feel so comfortable being a science nerd. But will they feel that way in a normal classroom where there are all these social pressures, especially when they've just been told by women like her and this whole movement of thought that they should have a reason to be afraid, or that people worry that they're going to be weak there. So it is more difficult for girls in the world, but the way to raise like a bunch of she warriors is not to tell everyone that they have all these reasons to be afraid and put them and give them all this special treatment and coddle them. That's the opposite way to do that. It's to say, hey, there are these issues, but you know what? Forget about it. Just you can succeed anyway. And teaching them how to be strong within the world. It's absolutely ridiculous how it is. It's like reverse feminism and not feminism, if that makes any sense to me. Hi to everybody who's just joining. No, I won't take my glasses off. I swear there's some people who just come on this every single week and ask me to take my glasses off or whatever else. But, save your finger strength. Like, don't type stuff like that. Like, come on. Okay, there we go. Okay. Let me go to the next one here. Oh, okay. This is a very similar one, actually. March for Science, which is, an advocacy. It's like an event. It's a social justice environmental event, March for Science. It attempted female outreach, and it offended people over the use of the word female. So they sent out this tweet, and I will read it directly if I can get my computer to work. It says, are you a female who thought about doing engineering but decided not to? Why? What what can the science community do better? Science March. And everyone said female. There were so many responses, more than actual helpful responses. There were so many responses that said, what do you, female, female, like, that's so offensive, that's rude. And somebody posted a link to, Victorian etiquette, saying that it's rude to refer to women as females, you should use women, or I get, maybe that's true. Maybe that's true. I'm not really very, very good with the etiquette thing. I kind of sit weird at my desk. I talk too loud. I didn't do a good job of raising my hand before talking when I was in school. So, like, definitely, if you're looking for etiquette advice, don't talk to me. Like, don't follow my example, probably. I totally believe that that's right. But the thing is, there's a lot of people who were commenting, were going further than that and saying that the use of the word female is dehumanizing and that it's treating women like lab specimens. Chill. It's really not a big deal. Some people were saying, oh, but it's not, it's an adjective, it's not a noun, but the dictionary says it can also be used as a noun. So that's just like what words mean and what words are. So I don't really know where you get that from. If it's rude, it's one thing, but this is a group that's clearly trying to reach out and clearly trying to help. And then, if you react that way, not even just saying, oh, it's rude. Oh my gosh, getting barstool questions. Big barstool, a lot of barstool drama today. That's hilarious. But if if you have to kind of, if everything's dehumanizing, then nothing's dehumanizing. Kind of save this kind of outrage for something other than somebody trying to help your cause. That's absurd. Okay. All right. Oh, and this was my favorite one this week. The campus-wide email that told white girls to stop wearing hoop earrings because it's cultural appropriation. I'm sure some of you guys saw it. This is my favorite one this week. So what happened is there was a group of Latino students. There's a free speech wall at Pitzer College where people can spray paint different free speech things. And a group of Latino students spray painted, "White girls, take off your hoops" on it. And then one white girl got apparently really offended. Or, no, she didn't get offended. She was confused. She was kind of like, what do you mean? Why am I taking my hoop? What? I'm confused. And then one of the spray painters was a resident assistant. So she had the ability to email the whole campus. She emailed the whole campus about her earring problem. She emailed the whole campus. And she said, "The art was created by myself and a few other women of color after being tired and annoyed with the recurring theme of white women appropriating styles that belong to black and brown folks who created the culture." She said that the black and brown bodies typically wear hooped earrings and other accessories like winged eyeliner, gold nameplate necklaces, etc., typically viewed as ghetto and are not taken seriously by others in their daily lives. And she sees winged eyeliner, lined lips, and big hooped earrings as symbols or as everyday act of resistance, especially here at Claremont College. So yeah, also no winged eyeliner, no lined lips. So basically, like, every time I go on Fox, I have a big culturally appropriated face. But so that was the one campus email, okay? But it gets worse. Apparently that wasn't enough. Then another one of the students who was involved in the spray painting replied to the campus-wide thread and said, "If you didn't create the culture as a coping mechanism for marginalization, take off those hoops. If your feminism isn't intersectional, take off those hoops. If you try to wear mi cultura when the creators can no longer afford it, take off those hoops. If you're incapable," you get it, okay? If you're incapable of using a search engine and expect other people to educate you, take off those hoops. If you can't pronounce my name or spell it, take off those hoops. I use those instead of yours because hoops were never yours to begin with, Jacqueline Aguilera wrote. By the way, Aguilera, spoiler alert, hoops are not yours either, because hoops are essentially a piece of metal made into a circle, okay? And nobody owns circles. Like, they're just like a shape. Like, if you're going to tell me that I can't wear a shape of metal in my ear, I'm going to just stare at you like this until you stop talking, because that's ridiculous. And if you want to talk about you invented hoop earrings, or the creators of hoop earrings, no, that was like going on in like ancient Greece, actually. People in ancient times were wearing hoop earrings long before you were wearing hoop earrings. So maybe you should remove your hoops because you weren't in ancient Greece. Or we could all just calm down, because the thing is, we are not the first people to ever exist on the earth. Like, people have been around for kind of a while now. So even original ideas, they're not really, they all get inspiration from somewhere else. And, there's really nothing going on now that wasn't inspired from something in the past. And, we live in a country where there's cultures intersecting all the time. That's like one of the dope things about it. And obviously, when people from different cultures interact with each other, what's going to happen is that people are going to inevitably influence each other. When they're interacting, they're going to influence each other. That's just how it works. And then now we have people saying they own circles. I mean, have you lost your mind? Have you actually lost your mind? My choker, there was somebody else that says chokers are cultural appropriation. We have to learn the history of them. I mean, she's telling people also to learn the history of hoops, but then again, you need to take like an ancient Greek class, you study ancient history, because they're not yours either. Nobody owns the shape of earring. Oh, what are you doing? Really, I think I've lost my mind. Someone asked me, bringing awareness to insanity is a good start. How else do we fight this? I think another good way to fight this is to be sure to make fun of it. Because these are the same kind of people who like to say that, or they like to use, rather than making actual arguments, they like to just say, well, you're a racist, you're a sexist. And nobody wants to be called a racist or a sexist. That's like the worst thing that can happen nowadays. And so they'll just shut up. And then rather than actually have to make real arguments, and they can just send out these campus-wide emails, and no one will challenge them, because they'll just say, oh, hey, I don't want to be called a racist, so maybe I'll take my circle earrings out. But, they're treating something with seriousness that deserves to be laughed at because it's a joke. So make fun of it when it's stupid. Don't be afraid to make fun of it. Because, I mean, anybody can see how ridiculous it is. Anybody with a brain can see how ridiculous it is. So there's one more that I wrote earlier this week that I'm going to discuss. Oh, there's actually a couple. There's two more. So, I don't know if you guys heard about the traffic signals, where the city of Melbourne, this is a weird time for, Australia. So, was installing female traffic signals for equality. But then people got mad because they were essentially stereotyping women as being skirt wearing. So they were trying to be doing it as a signal for equality, because their idea was they were going to try to eliminate unconscious bias. So essentially the city was worried that because people were walking around and seeing only dudes, or only like the pants guys on the traffic signals, that was making them like subconsciously start to believe that male people were more important than female people. That's what they mean by unconscious bias, which is obviously cuckoo bananas. But if a traffic signal is really influencing like your view of the world in any way other than should I cross the street or not, then you are the problem, 100%. I can guarantee you that. But the goal was to have 1-to-1 female to male representation for the whole city. And I don't know how much that would cost, but they said that for 6 lights, it costs $8,400. So I would say probably a lot. But people came out and they said, oh, so, it's just, so only the women wear skirts, and why couldn't we have assumed some of the pants-wearing ones are females? And But the truth is, there's no way to represent visually something that's a woman without using stereotypes. That's the only way to do it. I think about long hair. People say that stereotyping against short hair. You use curve to be stereotyping against women who don't have them. And it just goes on and on and on. One guy suggested just changing them to walk or don't walk, but then that's offensive to people who can't walk, right? Like that's probably what would happen, because I've actually seen that at one campus. I can't recall which campus it was, but they wanted to change the walk signs because it's offensive to it's ableist. It's offensive to people who are not able-bodied. So either the whole city can stop this male-female thing and just change all the signs to like walk and or wheel, or don't walk and or wheel, or just do nothing. I'm sure you got some real problems over there. I'm not really, I wouldn't call myself an expert in, Melbourne, but I also kind of feel like any city you can pretty much guarantee has bigger problems than the traffic signals wearing pants. I really do. I really, really do believe that. So I think I'm gonna start wrapping up here in a minute. If anybody has any more questions, then I can get to those. But this was most of what I did for the week. I did have one about Cardiff Metropolitan University in Wales. That, I mean, I can just go through this one real quick. That told students and teachers not to use potentially discriminatory words like homosexual and housewife. And I have to say, this is funny. They said, when you talk about relationships, don't use homosexual and heterosexual, use same sex. The prefix homo literally means same. So like, a lot of times this really comes down to knowing what words mean and just like knowing when shapes are shapes. And it's just, very basic. I think a lot of our preschool kids are a lot smarter than a lot of our university kids and academics these days, which is sad, but it's just kind of how it is. So again, tell us about meeting Gutfeld for the first time. I was on Red Eye. I was on Red Eye once, and it was great. He found me from one of my videos. I did a feminist video for Campus Reform where I went to a like a feminist conference, and I started asking women like, what does feminism mean to you, and all this stuff. And they found out I was from a conservative organization, and people started blocking me, like, don't talk to her. And I was saying, I thought it was inclusive. You can look it up if you want. But he saw me in that, invited me on Red Eye, and that was on every 2 weeks, and it was great. Okay, all right, well, thanks everybody. Thanks for watching. Everyone also watch the Gutfeld show tomorrow at 10 p.m. Got to be doing that. And thanks for watching. All right.